Love podcast with Lexi and
Davy Joe.
Davy Joe. Today we're talking about
I don't know how this works.
your how to become ready and in alignment for your soulmate.
Yeah, preparing yourself for your soul. We're totally prepared.
We just got right into it.
I think I'd like to. We can keep going. I think we want to set that up. We can try. Yeah, so preparing yourself to be with your soulmate. So not only just like it's a little further than finding your soulmate, because you may find them, but if you're not ready to support a soulmate relationship, then well, I want to say that they won't be with you, but it won't even get that far.
Right. If you are not living in alignment with your highest self, then how could you possibly attract in your soulmate, like the person that you've always dreamed of? You have to become the person that you've always dreamed of in order to attract that person into your life. Okay. You are ultimately always going to be with the person that you are right now.
100%.
So if you're not like 100% in love with your partner and everything that they are, then that's a beautiful opportunity to look at yourself.
Totally. And if you really think about it, and if you really like kind of just align your thoughts and even beliefs that this is real, that you really do attract what you are. You know, everything that you see and everything you perceive is you, is reflections of you and your inner world. And especially when it comes to human interaction, and especially even further when it comes to significant other relationships. Your partner is a direct reflection of you inside to some degree. It may not be literal reflections, it may be like complementary reflections. So it might not be the exact literal thing that you are, but it might be a gap that you have is filled by the other. And that could be something that's either positive or toxic. Mm-hmm. It can go either way.
Right. In past experiences, when I was lacking self-love, I was given what I thought looked like love through control and just really like unhealthy way. You know, codependency and narcissism go together. Like that's an example of an unhealthy, what you were just speaking about.
Yeah, that.
An unhealthy dynamic of a reflection,
yes.
in a way. And then when you are in alignment with your highest self, you're going to, you can possibly attract someone who, like you just said, isn't an exact reflection, but is all the things that you actually are working on in your life. For example, I am working on inviting in my divine masculine and empowering the divine masculine within me. And you're working on your divine feminine.
100%. It's
the qualities of that.
Yeah, and letting my divine feminine aspect even like take over my life a little bit in a lot of ways, especially certain ways where the masculine side of myself was misbehaving, I guess you could say, or was overpowering. I'm really allowing now the feminine to be really empowered and to feel like she has authority in my life as a presence, and you really embody that.
And we both started this work on our own,
yes.
And then attracted each other into our lives to further this growth.
Yeah, and that's what's really important, and not to say that you have to become perfect before finding your partner, your soulmate, or whatever you want to call that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my highest self is not perfect.
No,
and
there's no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing, but
right, but she does learn from everything and from all of like her mistakes. She learns from it and she grows from it. That's what like my highest self looks like.
That's key.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly, I think, really what we're talking about here is being able to be with someone intimately that can really help you work through all the stuff that that you need to work through, and you need to be able to have this the ability to give and receive, to be able to look at all the scary parts of yourself, all the dark spots. That's kind of what this comes down to, is being able yourself to be able to interact with someone on all levels in a really healthy and positive way. So what this means is you have to dissolve resistance. You have to dissolve the habit to resist someone in any kind of way, and to be completely accepting of the person that you're with in really in all aspects of their expressions. And that doesn't mean dishonor yourself, and it doesn't mean allow the person to, you know, mistreat you and just accept that they mistreat you in a way. But that's kind of part of this, is if that's something that's present, being mistreated, then that's something that you have to look at, you need to work through in yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So you touched on looking into, you said a lot just then. There's a lot in that, which is beautiful. So you touched on really looking at yourself and going to like the darker aspects of yourself and getting into that. And I love that, because once you're able to really look at yourself honestly, then you can see yourself more clearly and kind of work on yourself more honestly and make space to invite that partner in. But it really starts with like digging deep into yourself and seeing, and then you touched on people, what was that last part? Not being treated well. Like, why is someone treating you not well? Well, how are you treating yourself?
100%.
And how are you treating them as well?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And asking yourself, like, you don't have to stay in a relationship at all.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And once you start really digging into yourself, into the darker aspects of yourself, and getting honest with yourself, then you're giving yourself the opportunity to ask yourself, is this relationship in alignment with my highest self?
Yeah.
Because before you really go into the dark aspects of yourself, you may be almost blinded by, this is just what it is, and this is how it's always been, and this is the only thing that I deserve.
Yeah, and until you find and experience what it feels like to really be met in like a divine way, I'll just say, or in a way that's like truly not selfish, you know, or not the other person is not projecting onto you their stuff, and is able to really receive you honestly and genuinely and in a loving and compassionate way. Until you experience what that's like, because I remember feeling like it didn't exist, because at the time it didn't, because I wasn't capable of giving that.
Right.
So it literally didn't exist, at that time in my life when I was feeling that way. It was true. And then it became a reality when I was able to show up for myself in a way and decided to even say, well, but this is a very interesting thing, because me accepting, this is so cool, me accepting, okay, maybe the perfect person for me doesn't exist out in the world. That was literally how I felt right before I met you. I thought it might not be possible for me to find someone who's like, maybe it doesn't exist for anyone to really, really mesh and to be perfect. That is what led me to becoming that for myself. Me saying, I don't believe that there's somebody out there who can really give me everything that I need. So I became that person for myself.
Yes. Goosebumps all over my body. That's what this is all about.
That's what this is all about.
Becoming your own soulmate.
Yes.
Yeah. Becoming everything that you need. Becoming the love of your life. Yeah. And then you can truly be open to meeting.
And then you're ready.
Another soulmate, yeah.
Then you're ready.
Yeah. And because then you go about that relationship in a way of, I already am everything that I need.
Yeah.
And this is just like a beautiful addition to my life. But you go about it in a way that's not attached to. And I think that's so important.
Awesome.
Because to truly love someone is to not bring attachment and almost like be greedy about their love. You know, I love you so much that I want you to be completely free.
Yeah.
Which means that all, you know, open communication is welcome. All other connections are welcome. Whatever it is that makes you truly happy, I am here to support.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I was not supporting of myself and not fully in love with myself, that I could offer that to you.
Right.
And vice versa.
Totally. That's really what it comes down to. And something that'll just kind of slide in, that is a kind of like a result of this, to look for and to see where you might be at with this, what I'm about to say right here. When you have a partner, it has to be okay inside of you if they leave you.
Right.
So that's a really, really important one to look at. And that's evidence. That's kind of like, it kind of shows you where you're at. If you find someone, or even if you're fantasizing, even if you're manifesting your partner, if you say, put yourself in the position where you have the perfect person in your life for you. It feels that way. It feels like the one. It feels like you finally met this beautiful, amazing person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. It has to be okay if they decide to leave you one day. You have to be able to be happy for them if they leave you for another person.
Right. And that doesn't mean that you are just like in a state of like, that's totally fine. You may have to work through that.
Sure.
You know, you may have to work through that every day,
but
to be open to working through that and inevitably accepting that, truthfully within yourself, even if like not every particle of your being is like, yes, right now, because that's a big concept. That's a big thing to accept. And that brings up like a lot of fear and anxiety for a lot of us, you know, but to know in your heart that you truly believe that, and that's what you're open to for your partner.
And I think it's important too to acknowledge like that doesn't mean you won't be sad if they do leave. That doesn't mean you won't mourn for months them leaving you.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you won't experience that. It doesn't mean you're numb to feelings, and it doesn't mean you don't care. You know, you very well may potentially, if that person does choose to depart from your life, there very well may be lots of grief with that, and that's okay. Also, I just want to acknowledge that. There was one other thing that I wanted to add to that too. I don't remember. But I think that's a so just to add a little bit of practice for that. That's something that worked really, really well for me. Was I actually simulated and imagined you leaving me in my head, like many times. You know,
I did the same.
Nice, and it worked. It worked beautifully. I like exercised, or thought about what it would be like, how I would feel if you left, if you decided, or if you found someone, you're like, you know what, I found somebody who makes me really, really happy, and I just feel a deep connection with them, and it just feels really aligned, you know, whatever it was. I developed all these scenarios, you know, even like really rude and mean ones of like, oh, I hate you, you're gross, you know. I just went through all of it, did these scenarios, because I did that because I felt myself becoming attached. I felt myself clinging a little bit. And I didn't want to, and I knew that the result of that clinginess is toxic behavior, is jealousy, is envy, is doubt and worry, and it's a lack of self-love for myself.
And it's a lack of trust in the universe, really.
100%.
And God. And that's kind of what I worked through, is I visualized the scenarios and I came back to the heart and remembering and trusting in the universe and God and all that is unfolding. And reminding myself that if the universe brought you into my life, then imagine all the beauty to come if you were to also leave. Right. You know? Right. And just coming back to that space of trust. Yeah. And and really surrendering to love. Yeah. You know, because that's what this is being able to accept someone moving on to love in a loving way.
Yeah, and to trust the love for yourself, and to really have faith that loving yourself is the most important thing, and then from that, the rest of your life unfolds in a really, really beautiful way. You know, really being confident in that, I think, is really important. Because like you said, I love what you said there about if the person that you're with is awesome and seems perfect and amazing, if you do the work and you grow through every experience, if you expand into a greater version of yourself in every experience that you have with everybody, but especially with your partner, and in that regard, then if that person does leave you, you're only going to upgrade. You're only going to have people that treat you better. You're only going to have people that align with you more in your life if you continue to grow and expand. So that's easy to trust if you know that. Because if you're with the person that seems perfect and they end up departing from your life, the only way for it to go, if you do the work, if you keep growing and expanding, if you keep shedding your own toxic habits, then you can only progress forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to just bring it all in is remembering that you deserve the most beautiful, true, pure, infinite love.
Yeah.
You deserve this.
You really do, yeah.
And when you give yourself this love, this infinite love, then one day maybe you will attract it into your life in the form of a soulmate.
Yeah. And you can notice too how you feel if you're actively trying to attract. If you're attracting with grasping. If you're attracting with attachment.
Attached to the idea of attracting.
Yeah, if you're like, I gotta find my soulmate, you know. Yeah,
we both found each other really effortlessly. Not effortlessly in the sense of so effortlessly by we just happened to like really connect and find each other, but we were both doing a lot of internal work.
Tremendous effort.
Huge effort internally on our own separately to be able to find each other.
Yeah, and we sacrificed comforts, sacrificed, the easy road and for our own good, for serving ourselves as much as we can. We both made really difficult decisions in our lives and went through some tough times, to experience.
Trusted ourself and our path so much so that we were able to honor ourselves in a way that, was a little bit scary, was unknown.
Yeah.
But we trusted so much in what we deserved.
Yeah.
That we made decisions that were difficult to make.
Yeah.
And hurt some hearts on the way.
Sure.
And knowing that that's okay, like those people are going to learn and grow so much. And sometimes you have to let go to be able to open up to let in new opportunities and new people in your life.
Yeah, and that's part of the process of loving yourself is if you're faced with a difficult decision that might hurt somebody, knowing what's right for you and what's best for you is worth that, and that you're not in charge of maintaining pleasurable, comfortable experiences for others. That's not your job.
No.
Your job is to care for yourself and honor yourself with respect for others at the same time. And that's really what motivated me ultimately to want to talk about this, even, is because I had knowledge of the power of self-love. I knew that if I learned to love myself more and learned to release my toxic habits, that if it was aligned in my life for me to have a partner, they would show up because of that work. I knew that, and I'm aware that not everybody knows that. This might be a new concept for people, that self-love deep self-love attracts a partner that will love you fully, and attracts your soulmate, if we're using that term.
Yeah.
You know, but I wanted to bring awareness that that's an essential quality for finding your divine mate, or your karmic mate, or your soulmate, whatever you want to call it. That's a requirement for that to occur, and it won't happen otherwise.
What's a requirement?
Self-love, and self-love, and an active practice of releasing your toxic behavior and habits.
Beautiful. And I want to touch on
Okay.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
Oh, it's still going?
yeah, it stopped going.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, because someone was calling.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna continue.
No problem.
A new one.
Yeah, just start. We can edit the video.
So, well, we don't have to
Yeah,
either.
that's fine.
We're just humans,
We're
you know. It's part of the human experience.
It's reality TV.
So what I was gonna say is just to talk a little bit about how in the beginning, when we first met each other, you know, there was an instant connection, but I really needed time and space to be alone, and I honored myself, and I attracted someone who honored myself. You know, like you were patient with the process of me just having to spend time alone, and that is like the type of partner that I want in my life.
Yeah.
Who's willing to allow me to take space and time for myself to fully honor myself, and someone who's going to support that. You know, there's a lot of fear, like, oh, you meet someone amazing and you don't want to like fuck up, or you don't want to like honor yourselves in ways that might make them mad or something. Sure. But it's like, why try to like be something that I'm not in order to get someone to love me? If this is my true partner, they're going to love and support me through the process of whatever process I need to move through for myself, as long as it's honoring myself, really.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I think that's a common thing that people do early in relationships. Is you lie, you act as like an actor, you know, to please the person. You know, we do a lot of people pleasing when we first meet someone that we're excited about, that we find attractive, you know, that we're physically attracted to. All that stuff like leads to behavior that isn't necessarily genuine and authentic. You know, it's only until a time later that, you know, that stuff starts to come out when you get comfortable with each other and you get comfortable with being yourself. But I think it's so important to be that right out of the gate. And what you mentioned too about, you know, you taking the time and honoring, this is how beautiful. This is how I know that the laws of like karma are real. This is how I know there's some kind of divine design to life that works in a way that it's like nothing short of magic, because your time that you needed to be alone, happening right after like all the excitement of finding somebody new. You know, you had this revelation of like, oh my God, I've never taken time for myself to be alone. I need to honor myself because I'm feeling this right now is really important and valuable for me to go through some alone time. That time for me was a time where I was working through my attachments for you. Of like, oh my God, she does exist. There's a person out there that actually exists that can give me what I've always wanted from a partner. And then having to like step back and be like, oh my God, you know, and create space from that when it's so exciting, you know, was a beautiful reflection for me. Like, wow, I'm grasping here. I'm developing some attachments here. So that was a necessary time period for me to be alone and for me to surrender this person. I may never talk to her again. You know what I mean? And to accept that that's okay, and accept that and to trust in love, that it's going to work itself out in a way that's perfect. So that time period, because you honored yourself, I was able to honor myself. You know, and then when it was time for us that it felt right for us to come back and reconnect, we were ready.
Right. Right. And if it wasn't for taking that space, I would have resented the relationship itself because one, I didn't honor myself, you know. And when you don't speak up for yourself and honor yourself, there's that essence of resentment that is inside you. And you don't want to bring that into a beautiful relationship.
Right.
So yeah, so it allowed me to feel free within this relationship.
Yeah.
And allowed our connection to become so much deeper.
Yeah.
Than it already was.
It was the same for me on my end. It allowed me to not only it allowed me to be what I've always wanted. You know, it allowed me to show up for somebody how I've always wanted someone to show up for me. I was able to be that, and that was an empowering experience. You know, and that's another way of looking at whatever your situation might be, is to really look at how I'm showing up, because it reflected to me to how I showed up for previous partners in a not healthy way. You know, it really made me realize that when I had to really I had the opportunity to show up like that. It made me reflect on all my past experiences, and it arose. That whole time period was an arising of like, you know, you're not perfect and you haven't been perfect, and here's what you have to release to be that. That what you've wanted. You want this, you got to be that. So it was a remarkable experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's a bit of our love story.
Yeah, a bit of our love story.
Thank you too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we felt inspired to share it just because of it's been a very powerful, transformative experience for both of us individually, and the essence of it is how whole if I can speak for you, also how whole we feel inside as individuals is a direct correlation or connection with having someone that works really, really well with you.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. I hope this helps. I hope this brings inspiration. I hope it brings revelation. You know, all of the stuff that I think we're sharing is about revealing the truth about ourselves. I think that's kind of a core thing of bringing awareness to ourselves and seeing how we can make inner adjustments to improve our outer world.
And rather than focus on what you don't want, rather than focus on what is not serving you, focus on what it is that you want. Focus on what you deserve.
Yeah.
And even write it down. You can practice writing down these things.
Yeah, and work on becoming what you want. And be what you want to see.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Many blessings to you.
Yep.
If you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask away.
Namaste. Enjoy every moment too. It doesn't have to be so serious and rigid, you know, with all this kind of work. It can get intense. It can be intense work, but it's fun too, you know.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, have fun with it. Enjoy exploring yourself. Namaste.